Hello people of the world, and welcome to today's episode of Coffee Chats with Jax. Today I want to talk to you about something that has taken me a long time to be able to be as open about as I would like. I recently started going to a dietitian. If you've been following me for the past couple years, you might know that I've talked a lot about eating disorders and body image issues, and I have gone in and out of my life of really bad disordered eating habits. And so I didn't come to terms with that fully head on until almost 2 years ago when I left Boston. I wasn't eating at all, and someone asked me if I ate, and I laughed and I said, of course I eat bananas and peanut butter. Duh. That was the start of me looking inward at why I wasn't eating and what I was afraid of and why I was afraid of talking about it and what has happened in my life culturally and relationally and mentally to kind of bring me to that place. This year I've been seeing the most incredible therapist in the whole entire world. She's extremely patient, and so I didn't want to talk about food stuff for a long time, and I think she knew that. But slowly but surely it started to come up because it started to be more of a problem, because when I would show up to a session and I hadn't eaten anything, she could tell. Without food, we can't have a real life. Food is meant to give us the energy and ability and brain mental clarity to have conversations, to do simple tasks, to think, to feel, to live. And she could tell that I was not getting that. So we started talking about it, and little by little I started to open up my mind to the idea of seeing a dietitian, and I didn't know what that was. I think therapy's been extremely normalized in our society. We've been doing a really good job. It's even sometimes seems like kind of like a trendy thing, which I have thoughts on, but therapy's important, and it's not embarrassing even a little bit for me to say that I go to therapy. But the fact that I see a dietitian, that is a whole other thing. That hasn't quite been normalized yet, because I think we're still, we've made a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of silence where there shouldn't be in regards to things like diet culture and how it affects us. You see, I was raised being told these foods are good and these foods are bad and fattening, and if you eat them, they will make you fat. Constantly I was receiving these messages that my worth was based on my body. Everything was based on my body size and what I looked like and how toned I was, and comments people would make. I felt like I was only lovable if I was super skinny and looked this very specific way. That was messages from family members, messages from relationships I had, messages from people at work. And then there is culture and the media. And the media has this special way of lying to you and tearing you down and making you think you need this thing that you don't. Whether it's the next health shake or diet tea or workout plan or diet pill. As a young girl, the examples that I had, unfortunately, were in that world. Unfortunately, fell into that world. And it's not their fault, but it really harmed me. And as I reflect back on this, I realize how obsessive I was about food and exercise. And I would count calories and weigh my food and think I only get this amount of this, and if I eat this amount of this, I have to go run 4 miles. Or I would just obsess and obsess and obsess. And every activity, anything throughout the day reminded me of food that I was not allowed to eat and food that I wished I could eat. Things like bread or rice or a dessert or salt or butter. There's so many lies out there that butter's bad for you, that bread's bad for you, when actually there's no moral value on food. There's different nutrition elements to different foods, and our bodies are built to need all of them. Carbohydrates, protein, fat, sugars, all that stuff, our body needs it. All those different nutrients are there for a reason. And what really got me was that the dietitian I've been seeing, she's been kind of breaking down the science of it, what actually each type of food does for you and for your brain, and what happens when you put a protein with a carb. What it does is it creates serotonin for your brain, which helps your overall well-being, which fights off depression, anxiety. And then at the end of the day, serotonin then turns into melatonin, so you get a good night's sleep. I'd be missing that if I wasn't eating carbs because I cut out bread because I thought bread makes you fat, when that's just not true. And fat isn't bad. I don't like the word fat. I think that there are so many types of bodies out there, and each body is beautiful, and all bodies are not meant to be molded into the same ideal fake image of what a woman's supposed to look like. Fat's not a thing. But it's been ingrained in my head for many reasons that it is, and it's something to be weary of. and I obsess and obsess. And before I know it, I'm wasting away my days and my weeks and my months and my years because I'm obsessing over food that I think I can't eat. Hearing and learning all the science behind it has been really fascinating to me, because now when I eat a meal, I look at the piece of bread, or I look at the cheese on it, which I also thought I wasn't allowed to eat. I look at the protein on it and I think about, oh, this is doing this for my body and this is doing this for my body. And that's how I'm going to get through the day. One random thing that I learned, which really pissed me off, is that almond butter is not better for you than peanut butter. And that makes me really mad, because the world knows how expensive almond butter is, and I have been spending literally 500% plus more money because I thought it was healthier for you. I thought peanut butter would make me gain weight. Not true. There's a lot of lies out there. There's a lot of lies. A lot of it's about marketing. A lot of it's about a bunch of bullshit, okay? And I feel like I'm taking really, really good steps towards having a healthy relationship with food. I'm really proud of myself, because this is a rough journey for any of us. Like, life is really hard. And there's nothing I admire more than when people really aren't afraid to look inward at themselves, recognize things that could potentially be wrong, recognize traumas, recognize unhealthy strategies that we use, just recognize the messy stuff, and then working through what's necessary to work through, owning your stuff, making decisions to make your life and self better. Therapy. If you need to go to a dietitian, go to a dietitian. If you need to start a yoga class to get in touch with your body, like, go to yoga. Do things that help you become who you are meant to be. We are not meant to be a bunch of malnourished people trying to conform our body into something that wasn't real in the first place. Photoshop. We were meant to enjoy food and meals and nutrition, and we were meant to have relationships, and our bodies are meant to have the nutrients and the fuel that it needs to get through the day so that we can actually be and do what we were meant to do and who we were meant to be. So I'm excited, and I'm not healed and better. I'm just in the process, and the process is beautiful. And for people who are really impatient like me, that's hard. But I'm learning to really sit back and enjoy and appreciate what that looks like and be proud of myself in it. So I want this video to be a tiny little step towards taking the stigma out of eating disorder recoveries. And I want this video to be one tiny step closer to taking the stigma away from things like seeing a dietitian or giving your body the food that it needs, not the food that you think you're allowed to have. I'm learning a lot. This is the start of a much bigger conversation that I'm very new to, and I'm very aware that I'm new to, but I think it's important that I speak up about what I do know, what I am learning. So if you're out there and you feel like you want a better relationship with food, and you feel like you are placing moral values on food and thinking you are good because you ate a salad instead of a sandwich, I want to encourage you to think that through a little bit deeper. Think through those commercials trying to sell you those diet pills. Think through drinking that detox tea that's really just tearing apart your body. Think through it, because your body is a part of you, a really beautiful part of you. And when it feels pain, that means something. When it feels hunger, that means something. We owe it to ourselves to take care of ourselves. We owe it to our bodies to feed it what it needs to survive. Life is a lot better on the other side of that. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. This video is a little vulnerable for me, but you know what? That's the point. If you would like to read my story, I wrote this book called Finding Home, where I share all of it out, and it talks a lot about mental health, talks about trauma, it talks about learning to be at home inside your own skin. If you're interested, I have some personalized copies that I would love to get in your hands, so just click the link in the description box below to check that out, and I will see you next time.